All right. Getting ready for a Reprographics Technician interview. Well, we're diving deep today to help you prep.
Yeah, using a career guide and an interview guide that you've given us.
We'll even sprinkle in some ways that RoleCatcher's AI can help you stand out.
It'd be fun.
From showing real passion to prepping for those tricky questions.
We're gonna cover it all.
So are you ready to really wow those interviewers?
Let's get into it.
Let's do this. Now, being a Reprographics technician, it's more than just pushing buttons on a copy.
Oh, absolutely. It's a blend of technical know-how and a real eye for detail. You're making sure that blueprints, important documents, even historical records are preserved.
Yeah.
And looking their best.
You know, I never thought about it that way. Like, you're kind of like a guardian of visual information.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's jump into the first question that they're likely to ask you.
Okay.
What inspired you to become a Reprographics technician?
Ah, I love this question.
Yeah, seems simple on the surface.
Right.
But it's your chance to show them you're not just there for the paycheck.
It's all about showing that genuine interest.
That spark.
And that you've done some research.
You thought about it.
The career guide mentions preserving those historical records, artistic masterpieces.
Oh, right.
If those speak to you, work those into your answer.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Makes you seem like you've really thought about this.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. The guide also mentions that the industry is facing some challenges, because of the rise of digital media. So how would you approach that in your answer?
Oh, I think that's actually a fantastic opportunity to show that you're aware of the industry landscape.
You're not oblivious.
Yeah, and that you're thinking critically about its future.
Right.
You could say something like, I'm excited to be a part of this evolving field and eager to learn how to bridge traditional techniques with the latest digital advancements.
Ooh, I like that. Shows you're forward thinking.
Yeah, you're ready to adapt.
Okay, next question. And this one's kind of a two-parter.
Okay.
What skills do you need to be a successful Reprographics technician?
So this is where we get into both the technical and those soft skills.
Right. So walk us through that. How would you approach this one?
You want to showcase that knowledge of the equipment, software, printing techniques.
The nuts and bolts.
Exactly. But don't forget those soft skills.
Yes.
Attention to detail, organizational skills, your communication style.
Yeah.
Because remember, you're going to be working in a fast-paced environment.
Right.
Interacting with clients, all that good stuff.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can really give you an edge.
Oh, tell me more.
It can actually analyze specific job descriptions and highlight which skills to emphasize.
Oh, wow.
So you can really tailor your response to exactly what they're looking for.
It's like having a personalized coach in your pocket.
Okay, question 3. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and technology in the printing industry?
They're looking for a proactive, lifelong learner here.
Someone who's hungry to grow and learn.
That growth mindset.
Yeah. So what are some ways to really impress them with this answer?
Well, the career guide actually mentions some great resources.
Oh, perfect.
Like the International Reprographic Association industry
yes.
conferences.
Yeah.
Mentioning those shows, you've done your research.
Shows you're serious.
Yeah.
And even better, right before the interview, look up some recent industry news.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You can casually drop those examples.
Yeah.
Prove that you're genuinely interested and informed.
Fresh insights.
All right, moving on to question 4. Can you describe a time you had to troubleshoot a problem with printing equipment? Story time.
Yes, story time, but with a purpose.
Yeah.
Use that STAR method.
Jonathan.
Situation, task, action, result.
Right.
It helps you structure your answer, and the interviewer wants to see those problem-solving skills in action.
Yeah. It gets specific.
Right.
Don't just say the printer was jammed.
No.
Mention the equipment model, the specific error message.
Right, the steps you took to diagnose and fix it.
Right, like paint them a picture.
And remember, the guide mentioned that you're often working in noisy, dusty environments.
Right.
Maybe the problem was related to a dust buildup or a paper jam caused by humidity.
Yeah, good point.
Those details add authenticity.
Right.
And show you understand those real-world challenges.
Perfect. Question number 5. How do you prioritize tasks when you have multiple projects on the go?
Ooh, organization is key here.
Right. And it ties back to that fast-paced environment we were talking about.
Absolutely.
So how would you recommend tackling this one?
Mention specific techniques you use. Maybe you prioritize by deadlines or complexity.
Yeah.
Even using a simple to-do list shows you're organized.
On top of things.
Capable of managing your workload.
And you know what? RoleCatcher can actually help you stay organized in your actual job, too.
How so?
It's got these project organization features that are really helpful.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Keeps everything streamlined.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to question 6. This is a big one. How do you ensure the quality of prints meets client expectations?
Attention to detail is paramount here.
The career guide really hammers that home, doesn't it?
And for good reason.
Yeah.
Highlighting those quality control procedures is essential.
Okay.
So mention the specific software or techniques that you use, color calibration,
right,
resolution checks.
Yeah.
The guide even mentions fine art reproduction as an example where quality is just crucial.
High stakes.
You can adapt that to your own experience.
That's a really good tip.
Right.
Question 7 gets a little bit more interpersonal.
Okay.
Have you ever had to work with a difficult client? How did you handle the situation?
So here's where you showcase those communication and conflict resolution skills.
You gotta stay calm under pressure.
And the STAR method is your friend again here.
Yeah.
Remember, focus on empathy.
Right.
Finding solutions that work for everyone.
Yeah.
The guide mentions managing expectations and deadlines.
Oh, right, as potential sources of conflict.
Yeah, so maybe a client wanted a rush order that would compromise quality standards.
Oh, that's a good one.
How'd you handle that pressure?
Yeah, a nice little anecdote to illustrate.
Shows how you navigate those tricky situations.
Okay, 2 more questions for this part.
Great.
Question 8. How do you ensure the confidentiality and security of client information?
Especially important when you're handling those sensitive documents.
Right.
So here you want to highlight your understanding of data privacy and security protocols.
Yeah.
Mention things like password protection, secure storage.
Okay.
Anything that demonstrates that commitment to protecting that information.
You can even subtly tie in RoleCatcher here by mentioning that the platform itself takes data security very seriously.
That's a good point.
Shows that you're aligned with their values.
Nice.
Okay, last one for this part. Question 9. How do you handle unexpected downtime or equipment failure?
Ooh, this is a good one.
Remember those noisy and dusty environments?
Yeah.
They can cause some hiccups.
They definitely can.
So this question is really all about proactiveness.
I agree.
So what are your backup plans? How do you troubleshoot?
Communication is key, right?
All right.
With clients, with colleagues.
Keeping everyone informed.
Especially when a project is stalled.
And you could even draw some inspiration from the troubleshooting technical issues section of the guide.
Oh, perfect.
For a nice little relatable anecdote.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here in this first part.
We definitely have.
Are you ready for part 2?
I think so. Let's dive in.
Let's do it. All right, welcome back to our deep dive.
Yeah, we just tackled some of those common Reprographics Technician interview questions.
The basics.
But now we want to turn up the heat a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And explore some of those tricky follow-up questions.
The ones that really test you, make you think on your feet.
So what kind of curveballs might these interviewers throw our way?
Okay, so let's say you're talking about your troubleshooting experience. And you mentioned color calibration.
Okay.
The interviewer might ask,
right,
can you walk me through the steps involved in calibrating a digital printer?
Okay.
They want to see how deep that technical knowledge goes.
It's not just enough to know the term.
Yeah, you got to know the process.
You got to back it up.
I got to understand it.
So how would you advise someone to prep for that kind of a question?
Well, that's where the career guide comes in handy.
Okay.
It gives you a good overview of those key concepts, like color calibration. Make sure you're familiar with those steps and you can explain them clearly.
Okay, so really understand that process?
Yeah.
They might even get more specific, right?
Absolutely.
Like ask you about certain challenges.
What are some common color calibration issues? How did you resolve them?
Oh, yeah.
That's where those anecdotes are gold.
Yeah, so pull from your experience.
Remember that banding issue I talked about?
Right.
Share how you diagnosed and resolved it.
Shows them you can handle it.
You got it.
Now, what if you get hit with a question and you don't have the answer right away?
Don't panic.
Don't freeze up.
It happens. Take a moment. Gather your thoughts.
Compose yourself.
You can even say, that's a great question. Let me think about the best way to explain my approach.
I like that.
It shows that self-awareness and that willingness to think things through.
Yeah.
Which are valuable traits in in any role.
Absolutely. All right, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Back to those soft skills. What kind of follow-up questions might come up after you've discussed a difficult client situation?
Oh, good one. They might ask you, how do you balance meeting client expectations with maintaining company policies or procedures?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
It's that classic dilemma.
You want to keep the client happy.
You got to follow the rules.
Right, but you got to stay within those guidelines.
Exactly.
So how do you walk that tightrope?
Remember the career guide talked about managing expectations and deadlines?
Yes.
You can draw on those concepts.
Okay.
Explain your approach. Maybe a client wanted a rush order that would have compromised those quality standards.
Right.
How'd you handle that?
That's a great example.
Shows you've thought about those challenges.
And you've got a plan.
You got it.
Okay, here's another one. Let's say you were discussing the importance of data confidentiality.
Yeah.
And they follow up with, what steps would you take if you suspected a security breach involving client information?
Oh, now we're talking crisis management.
Right, this is high stakes.
Quick thinking, responsibility.
What do you do?
You got to highlight those protocols, your ability to act swiftly. Mention things like reporting the incident, following those procedures, maybe even suggesting improvements.
Oh, that's good.
To existing protocols.
Shows that you're proactive.
Shows you're thinking ahead.
And here's where RoleCatcher's AI can really help you out.
Okay, how so?
It can actually assess the security practices of potential employers,
Whoa.
giving you valuable insights into, how they approach data protection.
You can see if they align with your values.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Okay, one more follow-up scenario. Let's imagine you're discussing your training experience, and the interviewer says, how do you adapt your training style to different learning preferences?
So they're really testing your ability to be an effective teacher.
You got to know your audience.
Recognize that people learn in different ways.
Right. Some people are visual learners. Some people are hands-on.
Exactly.
You got to tailor your approach.
And that shows a deep understanding of how people learn.
Yeah, that's a great point. And remember, RoleCatcher's feedback feature can help you refine those teaching skills.
Oh, that's great.
By analyzing your explanations.
Awesome.
So any final words of wisdom for our listeners, they navigate these tricky follow-up questions?
Preparation is key, but don't be afraid to pause, think, and articulate that thought process.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the answer right away.
Yeah.
Authenticity and a willingness to learn go a long way.
Couldn't agree more. Welcome back to our deep dive. We're on the final stretch now.
The home stretch.
Yeah, so you've aced those common interview questions.
We've tackled those tricky follow-ups.
But now it's time for the big picture.
Okay.
Career goals and salary expectations.
Yes, the money talk, it can be a little awkward.
It can be, but it's important.
It really is.
It's a two-way street. They want to make sure your expectations align with the role.
And you want to make sure you're being paid fairly.
For your skills and experience.
Absolutely.
So how do we approach this strategically?
Well, RoleCatcher is your best friend here.
Okay, good.
It can give you a realistic idea of salary ranges for reprographics technicians in your area.
So you're not just throwing out numbers.
Right. You have data to back it up.
Okay, so when they ask, what are your salary expectations?
Yeah.
You're not caught off guard.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to give a range rather than a specific number.
Okay.
Shows you're flexible, but you're still setting those boundaries.
So how would you phrase that?
You could say something like, based on my skills and experience and considering the average salary range for similar roles, I'm looking for something between X and Y.
Okay, I like that. Nice and clear.
And be prepared to justify that range.
Okay.
Highlight your unique skills, that relevant experience.
So your worth.
The value that you bring.
Okay, now let's talk about career progression. They might ask, what are your long-term career goals?
This is where you show them you're not just looking for a job, but a career path.
Growth,
exactly.
We're looking ahead.
Remember that career guide outlines those potential advancement opportunities.
Yeah, right.
Team leader, supervisor. You could even specialize in digital archiving or fine art reproduction.
Oh, yeah, good point. It shows you've really thought about it.
Yeah.
You've done your research.
And even if you don't have a specific title in mind, talk about that desire to continuously learn, take on new challenges.
Grow with the company.
Contribute to its growth.
That growth mindset is so important.
It really is.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive.
You really have.
Any final words of wisdom before we wrap up?
Remember, preparation is key.
Yes.
But don't let it overshadow your personality, your enthusiasm.
Right.
Let that passion for the field shine through.
Yeah, be yourself.
Engage with the interviewer. Ask thoughtful questions. Show them you're truly interested.
And of course, remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way.
Absolutely.
Giving you those insights and resources.
An extra boost of confidence.
So go out there, rock that interview, and remember, the future of visual information is in your hands.
Good luck.
That's it for this deep dive into Reprographics Technician Interview Prep. We hope you found it helpful, and we wish you the best of luck in your interview.
You got this.
Remember, knowledge is power.